It's said that politicians use truth to tell lies, and comedians use lies to tell the truth. I'm going to do neither of those things. I'm just going to provide you with gem after gem after jewel of information for you to decide if it has truth for you. I know it has magical amounts of truth, but it's for you to decide what to do with it. So, I don't take sides, especially with information. It's just there. Do with it what you might. But what I do is find this blueprint and I lay over top the blueprint everything else that comes into the framework. Everything else that comes in, does it fit into this master blueprint of how things work? And those master blueprints are set up within the human body, then on top of that within the language, then on top of that within all of the colors and sounds and frequencies. And we can see it all around us. And there's so much information out there, but it's so easy once you are able to decipher what is really occurring with all of these colors and sounds and shapes and organizations even. And I'm going to try to just put it all out there once again, and I'm going to add new things into it. I'm probably going to be talking here for quite a while, and I'm just going to post it. I'm not going to do any editing. I'm not going to chop this up into smaller pieces. It's going to be a rehashing of everything that I spoke about before and add some additional things. And we'll see. Let me just see where we can go from here. Because again, as I do time and time again, as I take the language and I put it through a ringer and I see if the language links up with the sounds in other languages and links up with the shapes of things and links up with the reality that we're given in front of us inside of these boxes and these things that we come across within organizations. And I try to dispel the myth or the things that just seem to be that aren't, and put those next to the things that have some sort of universal truth to them. We could go down this line of saying, is there an objective or subjective reality that we deal with, that everybody just is subjecting their own belief system onto this reality, and that everybody's just playing their own game, which in a way, yes, sure, we are. But we can certainly see that as we're walking through nature, there's an abundance of trees, and there's an abundance of people. There's an abundance of things that have an objective reality, that the thing is as it seems to be. We can't explain it in words or numbers, but we can get close to it. And this subjective reality is how we like to be artists with the information that we're provided. But that doesn't mean that we can work with illusory things and expect to get something strong out of it. It doesn't mean that we can go pick up weak things that have no foundation and no truth to them and think we can build any lasting impression on the reality. That we can't produce a mandala if we are using sand that will just blow away. But once we take that sand and mix it with the right things, we can make a concrete example of something that will set into stone an idea, a philosophy that people will be able to see in the future, because it will hold its space, it will hold its time, and it will resonate. So today is election day, or selection day, as most people that have any awareness of what's going on, and it always has to do with these red and these blues. It's like walking down the street and somebody saying to you, "Hey, stop! Do you want the red one or the blue one?" And then you think that you have to choose, and you pick the red one and you get punched in the face with the red one. You pick the blue one, you get punched in the face with the blue one. And people are under this silly illusion that they have to vote. They have to cast some sort of ballot for, and again, a cast is something that's done by magicians. They cast a spell, and what's a ballot? A ballot is a small bell, or a small ball, a small bell. ETT, ETTE means small. It's like a cigar and a cigarette. It's a feminized, smaller version of something. So I have these people go to these ballot box to cast something, putting a small little idea of what they believe the truth to be into a box. So I don't take either side here. This even goes into further of people getting caught up in all sorts of enigmas that are put in front of them, all sorts of mental games, all sorts of I mean, the whole thing is he said, she said. It's the red and the blue, the boy and the girl, the Democrat and the Republican. And it's what he said on the TV and what she said. I mean, we're literally watching what he said, she said on TV right now. If you're watching a television. And it's just, it's amazing to see that people are still under this persuasion that they need to go do something about that. And if they're not doing something about that, it still crops up and they want to argue about it and still say why this is better than that. And I'm trying to explain how this looks when you take a few steps back and you get outside of the frequencies and the rigmarole, the thought forms, the processes of what people do with their day-to-day lives and what they think is important. And when you meditate on it and go into silence of yourself and imagine what's going on and try to produce some sort of future for yourself and for everybody else that is a little better than it seems to be out there right now, you can see things from a different way. So I want to get back into the scepter and what the two directions are, what the fork in the road is, what the agendas are, what the transhumanism agenda is, what the digital world is, what the goal is for people that don't have spirituality, meaning a ritual of spirals. So people that are boxed into something. Unknowing, and this goes into my other, this is really all a talk on salt. And somebody would point it out to me that the word salt is the word melek, right? Which is the word Malek, which is the word Moloch. Malek means king. Malaksh means salt. So even as I've been doing this work in the English language, I can still bring it. It's going to be found in Hebrew. Here it is, and somebody pointed out to me that it works exactly perfectly in Hebrew too. We talk about these covenants, what salt is, what Saturn is, what Satan is, who Moloch is. Who's Moloch? Does anybody know? Go look it up for yourself if you don't know. But this king, because the king is your kin, he's related to you, and he's also the Khan, the coin, the Khan, the king. It has to do with the priestcraft and the Cohens, like the Cohen brothers. Now, again, these are not people that are good or bad or evil, or it doesn't matter. They're information providers, all of them, everyone that you come across. Certainly there are some people that are on higher frequencies that only deliver resonant messages of the highest integrity. And there are certainly people that are swept away in these salt covenants. So these people that are out here on these televisions repeating things as reporters or repeaters, and these people that are politicians, tick means many ticks, multiple, which means they're just ticking, which has to do with the clock, because they're locked into the sea. And if they're locked into the sea, they're part of a salt covenant. So their brain that is firing on these pre-programmed cycles that literally are frequencies within the brain that are held within a piece of salt that go into the brain, that go into the body, that have these people devoted, unbeknownst to them, because they're full of the salt. They're full of the death. They're full of what the salt is, which is the soil, which makes them underground. This goes into all of the theories and people's ideas of the people that live underground, that are reptilian. Yes, that may exist in some degree, somewhere, somehow, on the astral level as well, surely. But here, what it's really talking about is these people that are being controlled by the scepter, and this is the mass population. And to think that these people, like the George Bushes and the Condoleezza Rice and the whoever's in office now, I don't even know how who's doing these things now, but they're under the same spell. They need to be woken up too. They're not the ones producing the evil. It's coming through them. And as I say, evil, it's not bad. It's just the opposite of a spiritual life. It pulls them to the ground, and it grounds them out, and it puts it disconnects them from the integrity that people live under. Now their integrity is salt. They've put a covenant in with salt, with Saturn, with time, with everything to do with Moloch and Saturnian and Satan. And as you've seen all of my other videos, if you haven't, go find them. It talks about what the difference is between the devil and Satan, and it's just the difference between Jesus Christ and Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is the fish. He's from underwater. This is why you get a Caesar salad. It has fish on it. And Jesus Christ is the fisher king. There's a connection. They're bound together. One is of the physical world and one is the spiritual world. So there's a bunch of people here that are completely programmed into the physical reality through the scepter. And that scepter, as you can see this little TV here, it's literally called the scepter, and it has crystals in it. And now if we look into what the salt is, it's a crystal. And if we look into what an actual crystal is, like how all of these hippity dippities going out here, with all of these different crystals all over them, yeah, they're absolutely right. There is much power in those crystals, but I wonder how many of them have cleansed their body to actually be doing the work, that can actually feel the vibration of the crystals, that aren't just, oh yeah, yeah, I like those crystals, those are cool, that yeah, I'm a crystal baby and this all, yeah, but if your body isn't harmonically resonant to perceive the information coming from those, or to push out information through those, then they're pointless. Then you can become controlled by those in the same way. So these crystals that are grown in caves are literally frozen water. Now we get into what the water is, and the water that's inside of you, and how you are the battery, and what is the difference between, as you can kind of observe here, what I've done on the page is I've, on the left, kind of put a little bit of an organic idea of what's happening, an organic signature of what's going on in nature with these spirals, and on the right I've kind of get into the order and the deviation of the L's, and the word L is EL, which is here's your God right in the middle of the page. He's a deity, and it has to do with everything to do with L, which is a box. This is how you make an angle. It's why you have an angel, an ang-L. It's the language of the angles. And there's your box. And this box, it's a boxing up of information. This is why everything you get in this reality is boxed. You go order something from Amazon. The Amazon, in actuality, is this wonderful place that's full of movement and all sorts of wonderful spiral patterns and Fibonacci sequences. And then the perception of what Amazon is to people that use a computer is Amazon delivers you these goods, and you get the good inside of a box, inside of a box, inside of a box. Have you ever unpackaged something from Amazon and it's like a box within a box? It's amazing. And so what has happened here is we've taken these organic living systems and boxed them up into things. And how many ways can we look at this? Getting back to this crystal, getting back to the energy that is within the crystal, as well as being a conduit for it, and what you are, and what a crystal skull is. So this is the frozen water. It's not frozen, but it's froze into a place. It's a resonator of a space and of a time. It holds on to and it can generate and push energy out of it, as well as put energy into something. So if you hold the scepter, which is literally covered in gold plating, and if anybody is familiar with what gold plating does, it goes on your computer circuit boards and everything else because it's a great conductor, and so you put this with these different crystals on it, and that's literally a stick of power, of electricity. These people were using electricity, and they still are. They just don't happen to wear the big hats anymore. They don't publicly do this anymore. Yeah, they do now and then just to let you know what's going on. But behind the scenes, they're doing the same thing. They're bringing the electricity and electrical charge that they're capturing from the ether right out of the air and then selling it back to you. And this goes into the salt and what Moloch is, the covenant, the lies, and the deceit to sell back something to people that was already free. It's usury. And so these people are using you, your energy inside of you and everything around you. Now, this is not saying that everything is bad within the Saturnian gritty system. See, we call it a grid or the gritty city. Well, yeah, Grid, not Grtty, Gritty, like gritty, like sandpaper gritty. No, it's a gritty city, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to go in and out of there and be part of that system for a little bit, that's great. I think it has a place. It certainly has a place. You can look at it. Is it resonant, and is it going to stay there, and is it going to be holistic for the universe, for the plane that we live on forever and ever? Maybe it will have its place, and maybe people will see it for what it is and use it for what it is. But as we see it now, there are these people holding these staffs. They're holding these scepters that are literally energy conductors that are pushing energy out. And now and this goes back into the kings being the cons and the coins. That's why they paid people in coins, because they were the kings and it had their face on them. It had their face on the coin. And so their connection to the salt is even in the word Melech and Moloch. And the salt is the cube that has everything to do with Saturn and salt. Salt is the cube. And so the salt that they're feeding the people, the salt that people were paid in, because they took their energy and they gave them in return salt. And they consumed the salt and used the electrical rods within the staff to control the people. And now they have a scepter right there on the television telling you what's happening with the TVs. Television, they tell you a vision. They're literally using their brain and the electrical frequencies within them to generate and amplify through the scepter whether it's the TV or the scepter in their hand. And watch how many times they're wearing gloves. Because there's a reason they're wearing white gloves at times. And what is that glove made of? Is it made of satin? What is it made of? Maybe you should look into that. So they're pushing out this energy through these different systems and putting an imagination into these people that have salt cubes. And as a salt cube does, it refracts information. So they're putting information out through their mind, through the wand, into the people's minds, and it refracts in their brain and gives them a reality that mimics that mimics the kings, which are the money exchangers, the money holders, the salt covenant, the people that have a covenant with salt, and they're making the imagination into people. They're pushing it into them. This is real stuff here. This is what's happening. Now, again, I'm not even mad at them, because here's the next step. Here's the what if they need to be there? Because if not, what if everything that you've seen on TV? See, here's the illusion. Here's the trick. As you get wise to it and you start to see these TVs and you see what's going on the TV, and you're like, oh, all of these are false flags. All of these are nothing. Nobody died during these. These are all hoaxes, because they're saying hocus pocus. That's where you get the word hoax from. So hocus pocus, look what we just did on TV. It's a bunch of people came together, just put an act on. I'm not saying that wild stuff doesn't happen here in the wild, wild west. I'm not saying that there aren't some wild things that are occurring and some violence, and yeah, but certainly on TV, as we're seeing these things and we're coming closer and closer to it, like what's happening on TV? Oh, as you see it, it's all illusory. It's all a figment. It's nothing. It hasn't happened. It happened in a sense. It happened in an act, but it wasn't fully um, spiritual. So now here's here's the dissociation. Okay, the lies are there, sure, and that's probably not, that's not a healthy thing for humanity. But we can at least say, hey, well, 3,000 people didn't die during 9/11, and we can say, oh, 25 people didn't die during the Boston bombing, or whatever the numbers were. Then you go, okay, then now we can get a little closer to it. And we go, oh yeah, we never went to space, and we never went to the moon. Yeah, that's true. We probably didn't go because we couldn't get there because the moon isn't 238,000 miles away. Has NASA been succubusing and sucking money and taxing people through usury? Yeah, certainly. But should we have given and allowed people to have all of that energy and currency? What would they have done with it? Bought a bunch of Ferraris and drove them around like idiots and bought a bunch of drugs and put themselves in the grave sooner? I don't know. I'm not claiming to take sides here. I'm just giving a larger comprehension of what might be occurring. And to say that, hey, well, once you pull a curtain back and then you look another curtain, like, whoa, there's something behind that. There's something behind that. But what we can say for sure is get involved with what nature's doing, because nature is the architect. No one's doing what nature does. No one's doing what the human body does. So what do? They mimic the human body. This is why you live in a corpse, and this is why you go and do business with a corporation. It's the corpses. And you look at a building. You could even look at you could look at the Twin Towers. It was built in threes: the lower, the middle, and the upper. You could look at all things. It has 3 levels to it, and people use the pyramid to describe that. Although it's not built that way. It's built like your body with the 2 legs, then the upper from your belly button up to your chin, and then from your chin to your top of your head. There's your 3 levels to your temple. It's not that we should be, it's standing on what's beneath us. That's, this gets into souls and why. Okay, here, let's go a little farther into this. Why do you put rubber on your feet and walk around in the city? And city, once again, CITY, is the word SHIDDI, which means place of power or place of magic or a person with magic. It just, the spelling is altered slightly. So you walk around with these rubber things on your soles because it disconnects you from the energy that you'd be getting for free through the earth. You'd be grounded out and getting the energy for free. But now you put rubber on your feet and you don't connect with that. And now all of a sudden you gain you get a positive charge in you, and you can't release that charge that would go into nature and let you cycle energy. And this is why people get fed up and they get charged up with something because they can't ground out the energy and let it flow. So now this rubber that's going just like what it's doing on a wire. You put the rubber around the wire. So it maintains the charge in there. So now if people are walking around the city, they're all charged batteries that can be dispelled in any way that the leader or the head or the chief, why do you think they call it a chief? The chief executive officer or the chief of the organization, the chief of the corpus, the highest in the corporation, always at the top of the building, right? Where do the janitors look at a building and look how it's set up? Now that person can go and all of these people that are walking around the city and working within that corporation have energy within their system. They have ideas within their mind. To a certain degree, they're controlled through the salts to not get them off of path of what the corporation wants, but they can still harness the energy within the humans and within the system. So this salt that you're consuming, this always goes back to this. Get rid of the salt that is inorganic and get with the organic world. Get with the organic world, and that opens up your system. It balances out and it removes things that are positive charges against your system. Your entire electrical, I don't care how you want to break down how you think the body works, whether it's electrical or chemical those all exist, and there are physical components, there are electrical components, all of these exist. But the highest form of the energy system is the electrical system. That's why it's the most hidden. That's why it's hidden in plain sight with these scepters, with these energy systems that are held by the few select. Now, are they doing it for the good or bad of humanity? You know, I've got to side with the highest order of anything here has to be for a beneficial thing. It has to be for the benefit of humanity, or else we'd all be dead already. This whole thing of like the new world order is coming, they would have already been in place. It's already been there if it's there. The order's already been. Everything's in balance. Everything. How else could it be? Everybody's sitting here tripping about who's going to be next president, and all the while driving down the street, talking on their cell phone, stopping at McDonald's, slurping down a Diet Coke, and they're worried about who the president's going to be. It's so, it's numb. It's literally the numbers and the numbing and the information that they're boxed up into the channels that they keep consuming. It's going to keep occurring. It's what do you think? This person that's been selected into there, good, bad, indifferent, whatever you think their politics are, whatever you think they are as a person, you're gonna call them out for their sins against this or that. When you sit there and sin against yourself every day, literally put yourself in a sine wave. And again, there's nothing wrong with sinning, but it's to take care of your electrical and human system yourself. And the easiest way to do it is the cheapest way to do it, which is to drink your piss, drink your urine, recycle yourself, and it will cleanse yourself. And the second easiest way to do it is, and the second quickest and the cheapest, is drink distilled water. And then once you've cleansed yourself to that point, then you can start making decisions on what you should be putting in your body after that, if anything at all. And I'm sure that you would come to the conclusion that things that you're getting from the inside of the store that are in boxes, you probably don't want to put in your system. And everything becomes very simple. It is a simple task, but it's also extremely difficult, because now you're set there against everybody out there in the population that's going to be like, oh, come do this, and this is the right thing, and they want to argue about the red and the blue, and they want to do this. And I'm like, man, there's infinite colors out there. There's infinite choices. There's infinite things to do. There's at least 7. So how come we don't have a 7-party system? Let's start with let's all choose between red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And then once people can start doing that, then they can see, well, hey, well, you know what? I could go with blue or maybe yellow here. I got a lot more in green. Oh, okay. And all of a sudden the system starts to fall apart, because no longer is it the black and white chessboard, because black and white are colors. Clear is the absence of color. And the red and blue aren't opposites no more, because, well, they're pretty close to each other there. So everything starts to become a little more clear, the clear channel of information. So the clear channels within your body can become unobstructed when you remove the salts from you. And when you remove the salts, you stop being controlled by the things that used to be controlling you. The salt covenant, the people that are part of soul. Your soul becomes yours. You no longer become crossed with the T of the salt. And the T is why you divide something up. You take a circle and you divide it with the T. There's your circle, you divide it. Now there's air, fire, earth, and water. There's your 4 seasons. There's the original division that occurs. Well, the first was just a division in half, but there's your cross. There's the things that get divided. Well, let's just get rid of that and go put a circle in the middle and get in there. Get in that area. Looks like a scope, right? So you can still use those things to, hone in on what you should be doing. Too much oxygen, too much earthing, too much fire in you. Yeah, you ground yourself out in certain ways. And there's your initial split. But these salts that are going into are cubes that are getting stuck into your head and into your body, that are allowing people to charge you to have your brain function and your body function in a different way, to think that you need something that you don't need. So what's next? Where to go from here? Somebody was talking to me about, oh yeah, here's what I wanted to get into. If you're going to go plant some seeds in a garden, if you're going to go, Francis, if you're going to go work on your greenhouse, well, let's consider what the house might look like. What could it look like? What should the plants, and what way should these plants be set up in your greenhouse? How should the seeds be started? Well, in that water that you're going to be using, and if you're in a community with people, and this goes for everybody out there, if you're in a community with people, have them all spit into the water. Put a little piss in the water. I'm not joking. Put the piss, put the spit in there. And now you've got some of your DNA coding in that water that is now going to go into those seeds. And those seeds are actually going to use that as fuel to produce the fruit that's going to come out of that plant. And it's going to have the information provided to give you the correct structure to fix whatever ailments you have in your body. The first original thing was to stick it under your tongue. Stick the seed under your tongue. But if you're doing it in large quantities, then get a bucket of water, put a little urine in it, for urine from everybody, maybe a little spit in there, and you're taking part of your DNA. You're taking part of the coding that you have inside of you and the things that are wrong with you. This is why people loop their urine, because your urine is your medicine. So if your urine is your medicine to go into your body, your temple, and that you could fix yourself with that, well, you could also put that urine into the thing that's going to grow the plant that you're going to consume. Now all of a sudden, your urine, quote unquote, quote urine unquote, is now in that tree that's in that plant. Your DNA is in that. Now you're consuming it, and it tastes better. It tastes good. And you can see the results of what you are. And you can also look into Dan Winter's work. But basically, whenever you're planting these seeds or you're arranging your greenhouse, do them in a Fibonacci sequence. Spiral them, because now there's energy that's occurring within that greenhouse, within the spiraling of the air, within the energy, with anything that's happening within there that is feeding off of each other. So it should, where those plants should be, use the mathematical equation to start in the center and move the plants around in a spiral. And you can also use that same idea and now think of the back and forth linking. And I'll do a larger video on this if you want to know. Every plant has a signature that is either male or female. Now, if you think of lining up electrical circuits by either using series or parallel, you can get different outcomes. So if you put a plant that is more masculine next to a plant that's feminine and vice versa, and you go back and forth, wow, you could really make a pretty interesting system. You could find a masculine group or a masculine single plant that is going to now feed off the energetics of the female plant. Female plants, male plants, they live harmoniously together, and they're going to build off each other's energy. So between doing that, using the urine in the water, and then finding a way to implode the water, and again, this is what the urine's doing anyways, because your water is getting imploded inside of you through your kidneys, basically a little black hole. And if you find like water imploders, or you could put together think of how water gets charged off of rocks or crystals. If you have in your hose, you could put crystals and rocks. You could put different substances will give the water a different charge as it goes by these things. So if you put it within the tube, now you spray the plants with it, you're charging the water to put electrical charge and current into the plant that's going to grow. So yeah, there's a little bit on charging it that way. You can also put some orgonite on top of your greenhouse. And I don't know that the most powerful thing is to do it with a pyramid shape. It's said that it is, but I think it's probably a cone shape. Because those angles are... I think you can probably try both, but I think you could just look into how the buildings are made, all of the ancient religious buildings. And what those things are is they're capacitors. You look at your car and you have your spark plugs. They use ceramic and metal, and and they put a gap in there, and it's a spark gap. And the way that works, they're using the same materials as they used in these religious buildings. And that you look at these buildings, and on top of these buildings, I'll even put it in the next video. I'll bring some pictures up. As they're using ceramic and gold plating. Gold, yeah, because it's for electricity. So these things, put that on there. You're going to be bringing the static electricity and energy into your greenhouse, into your building, by putting that on top of it. This is why you can go to all of these quote holy unquote places, and the energy and the feeling in there is different. It's because the kind of energy that they're pulling off of you and pulling into that building. This is why they use the materials they do in the building. It's not just for It's for an electrical reason. It's why there's marble on the floor. It's why there's a ceramic in the places that there is. That's why there's gold in certain places. So, yeah, I think this is enough of me talking for now. I'll go spout off some things later. Hope you all enjoyed this. Have fun voting if you need to. But anybody this is this far in the video, I think you're pretty well aware that it's not going to really do much with it. So go vote for yourself. Go do some cool things for yourself. Enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.